Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
So much going on here on O'Connor and Company. It's 8:07 a.m. on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry O'Connor today, in for Larry this week, sitting alongside today and tomorrow, Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
So, lots going on the show today. We got lots to talk about this hour. Joining us right now, Jonathan Fahey. He is a former acting ICE director, former DHS deputy assistant secretary. He was a federal prosecutor in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Virginia for 17 years. And, Jonathan, let's start with this. So Friday we got this federal judge who ruled against Trump's tariffs. You need to break this down for all of us, because how can any president engage in international economic policy if he's got federal judges looking over his shoulder? How can they engage in any kind of coherent policy, and why would any other nation take us seriously?
Yeah, those are two really good points. It's almost like, does the president need to get permission from basically any federal judge or every federal judge in the country to engage in this? And also, it does undermine the president, not just this president, but any future president's credibility, because if they don't have the ability to, enforce what they're saying, then no one will enter into these agreements. But what Donald Trump did was under this, International Economic Emergency Powers Act. Basically, he invoked this, saying there was an economic emergency relating to trade, fentanyl overdose, and manufacturing. And the court basically said those were insufficient reasons for it to be an economic emergency. And the court also said, even under this act, the president isn't allowed to do anything with tariffs under the act. So the administration will appeal both. I think they'll be successful, particularly on the reasons for invoking it, which is the drug overdose emergency with 100,000 people a year dying. And the manufacturing thing is quite interesting, because as we learned during COVID, all of these medicines or pharmaceuticals were remade outside of our country. And it begs the question, is like, do we want to have that and have it be beholden to China or somebody else in the future? So all these are great reasons for invoking it. I think he will prevail in the Supreme Court. This was only a 7-4, meaning 7 judges went against him, 4 went for him, or dissented, however you want to call it. So I think this Supreme Court, as we've seen in other cases, they've given a lot of deference to the executive branch, and I think they will again. But it's certainly an open question. And the other thing is, they may say it was appropriate for him to invoke the act, but you can't use tariffs. And then there'll be other tools in the toolkit that President Trump can use as far as sanctions and other things that may have a similar effect. But it'll be interesting how it plays out. But you're exactly right. All the investment we have in our country, all of these other things have been inspired because Donald Trump has had, been able to have strong bargaining position with all of these countries. If that's taken away, we're worse off as a country economically as well as national security wise.
I'm really excited you're on, because I do want to talk to you about this situation where, the Trump administration efforts to reunify children with their parents in Guatemala, and a judge has now banned that as well. We know during the Biden-Harris administration, 320,000 children went missing, and this is obviously an effort to not only find those children, but put them back with their parents. Can you shed some light on this latest judge's ruling to stop that act? I mean, I don't really understand. It's so cruel to prevent these children being reunified with their parents. But what was the reasoning behind this judge's ruling?
Well, I think your first sort of overall point is kind of interesting, to just point out the irony of the Democrats always wanting to talk about keeping families together, and now that the yes. Trump administration is trying to keep these families together, because these are kids that are here that crossed alone without their parents, and their parents are in Guatemala. Parents want them back. Guatemala wants them back. So here's how this basically breaks down. The court is saying these children should go through the immigration, and I say children, they're 10 to 17 years old, so some are close to adults. should go through immigration court to be able to decide of an immigration judge if they should be sent back or placed with basically a foster home or just being detained by ORR. The Trump administration's position, which is a sound position, they are not being deported. They're being repatriated.
Right.
And repatriation means it's not against your will. So we know it's not against their will if their parents want it to happen. And also it can be in the best interest of the people being repatriated. So the children aren't of an age to consent one way or another. So if their parents want them back, they should be repatriated. So this is not a deportation. So that's basically how this breaks down in the law. If it's a repatriation, President Trump and the Trump administration prevail. If it is a deportation, they'll ultimately prevail as well, I think, but it will have to go through the immigration court. And so right now, I think there's a 14-day stay on this, and the judge will ultimately decide on the merits, which we already have a preview. She's going to decide against the Trump administration, but then they'll be able to appeal that to I believe it's in D.C., so the D.C. Circuit, and get some clarity. But again, the big picture is, why aren't we keeping families together? Democrats used to talk about that all the time. We know they didn't really mean it. They just want the Democrats' position for anyone maybe one or two people that don't know out there. They want every illegal alien to stay in the country that's here, and as many more to come because they think it will help them politically. There's nothing more to this. Everything else is just sort of, just fog in the whole thing. But that's the thing. So there's never a scenario where they say, hey, let's support this guy. It doesn't matter if it's Maryland man, doesn't matter if it's anyone. They want him to stay.
Right. We're talking with Jonathan Fahey. He's a former acting ICE director, former DHS deputy assistant secretary. And you are a federal prosecutor, Jonathan. So, and let's go here. I mean, it's astounding to me. I don't know. I was shocked when you actually enforce the law and you have a presence that is there to keep a law and order. Miraculously, crime goes down. I mean, were you shocked and astonished by this?
Yeah, not really. It's amazing, but I'm happy about it in D.C. because anyone that walks around D.C., it is a noticeable difference what after President Trump did this. I think we're basically 2 weeks out. It's cleaner. It seems safer. Union Station is a different place. It is amazing how good this has been, but also just shows President Trump was right. It's like, why were we tolerating our capital city to be crime infested, to be dirty, to be frankly rat infested? It should be it should be the most beautiful city in the world. It should be pristine. It should be safe in any part of it. And the real crime here, or the sort of the worst thing about this, during the Biden administration is when the crime went up and it went through the roof.
Right.
And we know in D.C. the prosecutions are done by the federal government, unlike the states are mostly state for criminal law. And the reason I say that is they spent all of their time on these political prosecutions while ignoring carjackings, murders, other violent crimes. So they let this get out of hand, and they let it, meaning they made a choice to let it get out of hand because they decided political prosecutions was better for them as a party than keeping the community safe. And it's a very cynical thing that they did, and the citizens of D.C. suffered because of it.
Right. Well, Jonathan, listen, we have to leave it there. Thank you so very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Take care. It was Jonathan Fahey, former federal prosecutor and senior Homeland Security official. We've got so much more to get to, but it's first it's 8:15 a.m.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
All right. All right. That made me laugh because I think that there is, I mean, listen, we saw Trump derangement syndrome infect people in the first term, Julie Gunlock, did we not?
Of course.
TDS is a real thing. And it's just crazy. Listen, we're going to talk a little bit about we're going to talk about Ilhan Omar and her net worth. We've got this story about this woman up in New York. busted for threatening to kill Trump. She was quietly released by an Obama-appointed judge.
Of course, Boasberg, yeah.
It's Boasberg. I didn't even see that in the article there.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Ilhan Omar's not making any friends among the literate crowd. There was a People's Conference for Palestine in Detroit, Michigan, at which the Congresswoman spoke, and there was this doctor. Obviously,
yeah. This was a conference held in Detroit, Michigan, and there was a speaker, Nidal Jabbour. He called for violence against those in Israel, Washington, and Europe. This is a direct quote. They need to be taken out. They need to be neutralized. Many speakers at this conference called for violence and terrorism. They said we need to stop sitting back. We need to get more active. We need to get in their faces. I mean, really, but also we need to resort to terrorism. Right. I don't understand, Andrew, how this is allowed, how those people weren't arrested. These are actual threats of terrorism.
Well, he's a doctor. He's a doctor, Julie. Obviously, he gets a pass. Hold on for a second. Let's hear Doctor. His first name is not Doctor. Dr. Nidal Jabbour. Let's play cut number 10.
It is time for us to pay back and stop the criminals, the perpetrators, the child murderers. And we all know who they are. We all know who they are, whether they are in Israel, in Tel Aviv, in Washington, in Germany, in Europe. We all know them. We all know them. They need to be locked up. They need to be taken out. They need to be neutralized.
They need to be locked up, taken out, and neutralized. Yeah, that's calm things.
Absolutely terrifying.
So we got this a woman named Aisha. Let's play cut number 11.
For an F-35, for every 1 hour of flight, it actually needs 3 hours of maintenance. So what I'm saying to y'all is that if one specific node of the F-35 supply chain is intervened in, it has a huge impact on our people back home. And so we've really developed a methodology, and then I hope that we can get into this and we can talk about it a bit more through this panel. But what's important for us to know here is that the more that we know, the more that we can do. Knowledge is really power here. And we need to be surgical. We need to be strategic, and we need to be bold in our actions.
Gerda said.
It's almost like she's saying, let's use planes. We need to be bold. We need to be innovative.
Well,
let's use planes to crash into buildings.
Well, this is that, but it's also, hold on for a second, because, what she is essentially talking about is a fifth column. Now, movies reflect. Julie, you're a movie fan. Your first job was at a Blockbuster? No, an independent video store. But if you watch, movies from the 1930s into the 1940s, World War II era, talking about the threat from Germany, invariably the villain was some kind of what they called the fifth column. People who were acting on behalf of Germany or Japan to sabotage American military infrastructure. This is what this activist is talking about. She is talking about finding ways to sabotage our military infrastructure. To go and she says it to disrupt the supply chain here. But there you go. Hey, Julie, Ilhan Omar, she was not a wealthy member of Congress when she took office, was she?
She was not. No.
Her net worth has skyrocketed to as much as $30 million after denying she was a millionaire. I mean, this is really kind of crazy here. I don't understand this.
She married a man who has a political consulting firm. I haven't sort of gone down the rabbit hole on this.
Sure,
but the woman is making bank, and her husband is, also probably raking it in. And this is a woman who identifies first as a Somali. Oh. She hates America. She hates Americans, and America saved her and her family, and her first husband, who was her brother, allegedly. And then she turns around and craps all over this country. And it's despicable. She's despicable, but she's, again, look, maybe I'm doing it wrong because she's making a lot of money.
here's what I'm trying to figure out. So she's a Somali Muslim whose husband owns a winery. I
don't know if he owns a winery. I know he's a
it's right. It's right here.
Oh.
Yeah, the financial gains came from My Net's two businesses, a Santa Rosa, California-based winery and a venture capital firm, the winery East St. Croix LLC. Well, it's not worth all that much. But nevertheless, I find that fascinating. Listen, we got so much more to get to. Right now, it's 8:23 here on WMAL.
Coming up, we'll have an update on Abigail Spanberger running for governor of Virginia. Keep it here. It's 8:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
Well, hey there, everybody. It is 8:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news. Happy Tuesday to everybody. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor. Today, in this week, sitting alongside my good friend Julie Gunlock. Hello, Julie.
Good morning.
So, yeah, we got a governor's race going on in Virginia. I mean, it really is.
I love Winston Sears so much. She's so great. But boy, this opponent, Spanberger.
I mean, it really is kind of astounding. And you and I were having a conversation about this before we came back on the air, because the contrast couldn't be more different. By the way, I get texts from the Spanberger campaign. And you would think that Abigail Spanberger was never in the CIA. You would think that she'd never been a member of Congress. Like, she never had the opportunity to solve many of the problems that she wants to solve.
Right. You would also have no clue that she's an absolute lunatic radical, okay? And I've said this all along. Just because, there was some sort of consultant who came in and said, we're going to dress you head to toe in Talbots, and we're going to hide all that stuff that you used to do. And you're going to come and you're going to speak like a moderate, right? And that's what she did this latest interview. Can we play this clip? Because I want to respond.
Well, hold on for a second. I want to play the clip, but if you don't follow Julie Gunlock on X, because what I love about Julie is that Julie is so even-handed and easygoing in her Twitter.
Sure.
Anyway, now go ahead, Michael. Let's go ahead and play cut number 12.
And then it was virtual school. And so it was just all a mess. And by 2021, that had been the time frame when they go back to school. And, in the fall, that's when things are going to be normal. And then there was another surge, and it wasn't normal. And it was still masks, and it was still uneasiness, right?
Oh, my God.
And I think that the feeling that I, as a parent, the anxiety that I had putting my kids on the bus, knowing they're going back to school, worried about their health. My youngest always had respiratory issues all through when she was a kid, worried. I think that people forget that was a foundation for just a disorienting level of stress.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I can't.
All right, so let me start here, because my immediate reaction.
Well, you really want to start here because I'm about to burst, Andrew.
Well, okay, go ahead, Julie.
Honestly,
please,
can we just
please.
talk about? She says it's all a mess. She said, I was expecting it to go back to normal. She's like, and then there were still masks. She says, worried, right, and disorientations of stress, whatever. She did it.
Right.
She and her buddies in the Democrat Party, along with Randy Weingarten, created the mess.
Right.
The lack of going back to the fact that we didn't go back to normal, that the masks were still on. The Northern Virginia school districts sued the state of Virginia to try to keep masks on, and she sat there and she supported it. She is totally a puppet of the teachers' union.
Well, she's got
this idea, Andrew, just let me finish. This idea that she is then going to come out and campaign on this. I was such a worried mom. I was so tired of COVID. It is so diabolical, Andrew, because I was the mom that was complaining. Right. I was the mom going to the school board meetings. I was the mom who was called a terrorist and wanting and intimidated, and the attempts were made to shut me down and silence me. So the idea that she is cosplaying me is so insulting. Okay, I'm going to let you talk because I have to take a breath.
No. But also, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Remember, and the other ads that are out there right? The ads that constantly appear when I'm watching Hulu about Abigail Spanberger are how even-handed she is, right? Again, it's the thoughtful, moderate. She was a CIA case officer, and the idea that she's going to get spooked by this, she is supposed to be able to look at the intelligence that's out there, read what's happening on the ground, and say, you know something, let me do a risk assessment here as to what's going on with me and my kids and my family generally, and not supposed to get out there with these pictures in our show prep here of her on the floor. Is this on the floor of the Virginia house? I mean, wearing what looks like the boy in the plastic bubble garb here. And it's nuts. Let's go to this clip here. Let's play cut number 13. This is a local Fox interview that she did.
Well, I'm a parent of 3 daughters in Virginia public schools at this moment. And everywhere I travel across Virginia, I hear from other parents. We want our kids to be safe in schools. We want our kids to learn in schools. We want our kids to be set up for success. And frankly, at a point in time when Virginia is ranked 51st in our math recovery, after every other state and the District of Columbia, parents want to ensure that we have a governor focused on improving our public schools.
All right, but time out first. Hold on. But time out. First of all, she's got to get a different blue jacket because she's wearing the blue jacket in too many interviews. But 2, you created this mess. You kept the schools closed for a whole extra year, and you would have done it longer. Go ahead, Julie.
She is out. She is again. This is despicable. She opposes school choice. She says, "I am the mother of 3 girls." She supports boys going into girls' bathrooms. She supports boys and men having access to locker rooms. Okay,
right.
Men with sexual assault charges who've been convicted of sexual assault going into women's locker. She supports this. She's owned by the teacher. She's absolutely.
She supports keeping those who are accused of sexual assault and sexual battery and battery of women in the United States and not turfed back to their home country.
She advocates, talking about the Fairfax abortion scandal, she advocates for abortion at any time and even for minors without parental consent. She supported Northam shutting down small businesses, schools, and churches. She supported extending masks. She is funded almost entirely by out-of-state donors, including Chinese communists, okay?
Yes.
This is not a moderate. This is a radical dressed in Talbots. That does not make you a moderate. And Winsome Sears has been excellent at countering some of the attempts that Spanberger is making to come off as just a normal mom.
Do we really want to talk about Meghan Markle, or do we want to keep talking about Abigail Spanberger? I mean, listen, I want to talk about either one.
My blood pressure's going
fine.
up.
Yes, we got to do that. Listen, we got more coming up. It's 8:43 here on MAL. You know something? I don't think I realized this was the song. I think of the Weird Al Yankovic song. Anyway, tinfoil. Who is more of a legitimate homemaker? Julie Gunlock. More of a legitimate homemaker, Abigail Spanberger or Meghan Markle?
You just had to bring it up again.
Of course.
Meghan Markle. She needs to stop doing podcasts. She needs to stop. She is such an.
I think that's a general precept for everybody. But
she
go
needs
ahead.
to stop doing podcasts. She needs to. I mean, although I will say, at least this podcaster was an improvement over her makeup CEO.
Yes.
The one who talked like this. She was very breathy. So this is a little bit better, although it was quite revealing what came out of this podcast. Let's play cut 16.
So I think probably it was different several years ago where I couldn't be as vocal and I had to wear nude pantyhose all the time. Let's be honest, that was not very myself. I hadn't seen pantyhose since movies in the 80s when they came in the little egg. That felt a little bit inauthentic, but that's a silly example. But it is an example of when you're able to dress the way you want to dress and you're able to say the things that are true and you're able to show up in the space really organically and authentically.
Okay, so what's interesting about that, Andrew, is first of all, did she miss the entire Spanx praise of the early aughts? Okay.
Yes.
I haven't seen pantyhose since, it was in that little egg in the 80s in movies. I mean, that's ridiculous. Spanx was a huge sort of revolutionary move. I'm not kidding. I've never been sucked in so nicely than with Spanx pantyhose. So that's ridiculous. But also notice she also said, I want to be my more authentic self to tell the truth. Okay, so first of all, the pantyhose, like the I don't have to wear pantyhose. That is a direct sort of comment about the Queen, because the Queen is the one who made those rules about pantyhose, about every woman working worlds. Women working worlds had to wear pantyhose. That was the Queen's decision. So she's taking a little pot shot at the late Queen. And then secondly, when she says, I could be my authentic self, I could tell the truth. That again, she's suggesting that the royal family tells all these lies. She's really the victim. She escaped this world of lies. She just she can't help herself. She just constantly, she could do a podcast and talk about her stupid show and her like simpleton recipes coming out of her show, which by the way, I know you have comments on.
Oh yeah.
But no, she just has to get a little wheedle in there.
Yes. Well, I mean, listen, for me, it's like, the more that these stars do these shows, I don't think she realizes none of us want to see your authentic self, because at the end of the day, we're just not going to like it.
You're just not like us. You're a part of the royal family.
You're not a normal person. I mean, it's like everybody else. It's like, okay, there was a Saturday Night Live sketch, hold on, with a Celebrity Family Feud, right? And it was the Baldwin family versus some regular, average, everyday family. And it was like, oh, what do you do for dinner? And the Baldwin family was like, oh, we make reservations at Spago. And, it's like it's not the normal lives of people.
At one point, the podcaster asked her about, let's see, is this in the clip?
The
cut
Trad
18.
stuff.
Cut 18.
From my standpoint, the intention of the show was to share more of myself, to share tips that I love in my life, and to have fun.
But there's this take that you're glorifying homemaking or glorifying trad wives.
Oh, really? Oh, that feels odd to me.
Okay,
but that's exactly
enough.
the point of it, right?
But actually, why not lean in there? Why not say, heck yes, with my stupid flour sprinkles and my fruit boards and my totally unoriginal recipes. Like, why not say, you know what, homemaking is a lost art. You know what? Because Martha Stewart actually glorified homemaking, making homes beautiful, and she leaned into it. She wasn't ashamed of it. She was like, you should have a beautiful home, work with what you have, and make your home organized and clean and a great place for people to be. And Meghan Markle, because she's always on the edge of both, like, I love homemaking, but I'm also this, girl boss feminist.
She can have it. She can't have it both ways. I mean, well, listen, she can have it both ways. You can be a boss feminist, but you're right. You have to lean into this idea of being this trad wife, but don't lean into it and then not lean into it and say you're not leaning into it. It doesn't. It actually underscores what we already know, that she is an inauthentic person out there. She is incredibly, incredibly fake. The fakeness.
Cringe level.
Yes.
Yes. And again, what would be more interesting is if Meghan Markle, with the permission of the royal family, had, done a small talk show of what it's like to be in the royal family. Like, really, and actually members of the royal family have done this. Mike Tyndall, I think is his name. He had a podcast where he kind of delved into life with his wife and in the royal family. That was really interesting. And it was authentic because he's part of the royal family.
Right.
This idea of her trying to be Martha Light, it's not working.
Well, listen, I think once again, South Park put it best. Look at me, don't look at me. How dare you look at me? It's all of these folks who are attention seekers who don't claim to not want the attention. It's 8:53 here on O'Connor and Company, WMAL.